Okay, what if all the craziness you're seeing in the financial markets isn't just random chaos? Today, we're going to dive into some pretty wild but weirdly compelling theories about a massive, orchestrated reset of the entire global system. It's a story that ties together gold, crypto, and a mountain of debt that's just gotten way too big to ignore. This whole thing really starts with a puzzle that's been bugging a lot of market watchers. The central idea is that the strange behavior we're all witnessing isn't just noise. It could actually be a signal, a hint of something huge happening behind the scenes, and it's all being driven by one single core problem. And this is it. $37 trillion. dollars. That is the jaw-dropping size of the US national debt. It's a number so massive, it's almost impossible to really wrap your head around it. And it's the anchor that's weighing down the entire system, forcing the people in charge into a corner and fueling all these incredible reset theories. Now, here's where it gets really weird, and this slide kind of lays it all out. For years, gold and Bitcoin were like two peas in a pod, right? They moved together against all the uncertainty. But lately, gold has been absolutely screaming to all-time highs, while Bitcoin, well, it's been getting hammered. This split, this growing gap, that's the central mystery we're digging into today. So, what on earth could cause a split like that? Well, to understand why anyone would even think about a reset, we first have to appreciate the incredible pressure that's building up in the current system. You can start to see the cracks forming, and believe me, they are getting bigger every single day. A huge part of that pressure comes from this one word, de-dollarization. And this is a massive deal. For decades, the entire world has run on US dollars, especially for buying oil. But now you've got major countries all over the globe actively looking for ways to trade with each other without using the dollar. And that, right there, threatens the very foundation of America's financial power. I love this quote from macro analyst Luke Gromen because it just perfectly captures the situation. He compares the petrodollar system to this big pressurized tank. For decades, it's been sealed up tight, but now we're starting to see those little holes appear, and the whole thing is beginning to lose pressure. So this brings us to the crucial point, this impossible choice that policymakers are facing. I mean, they are completely stuck. If they raise interest rates to fight off inflation, they risk blowing up the national debt. But if they just keep printing more money, they risk absolutely destroying people's faith in the dollar. It's a lose-lose situation. Unless, of course, there's a secret third option. And that impossible choice leads us right into the first major theory we're looking at. What if there's a radical but actually surprisingly simple solution? An official government-led reset that uses America's oldest and most trusted asset. The idea, and this was put forward by analyst Josh Mandel, is that the U.S. could restore faith in its entire financial system, not with some crazy new policy, but with a simple accounting trick. Just dramatically change the official price of its gold. Because right now, on the official government books, the thousands of tons of gold that the U.S. holds are valued at just $42 an ounce. I mean, 42 bucks. That price has been frozen in time since 1971. It is completely, utterly disconnected from reality. So, what's the magic number? According to this theory, it's around $16,000 an ounce. Now, I know that sounds absolutely insane, but it's not just a random number. A revaluation like that would give the U.S. enough gold value to back roughly 75% of all the dollars in the system, almost instantly putting a solid foundation back under the currency. And hey, if you think that number is just totally crazy, take a look at this. Back in 1980, during the last big dollar crisis, U.S. gold reserves were worth 135% of its foreign-held debt. Today, it's just 11%, so a massive gold revaluation wouldn't be creating some new bubble. It would really just be a return to the historical average, to a time of balance. But okay, hold on. If the gold plan is so simple and straightforward, that leaves a huge question, right? Where the heck does crypto fit into all this? Well, this next theory suggests a much sneakier, backdoor approach to solving that debt problem. And this is where it gets really wild. A senior advisor to Vladimir Putin recently made this absolutely explosive claim that the U.S. is secretly plotting to put its massive debt into a crypto cloud, which would essentially devalue it and make the rest of the world absorb the pain. So how would that even work? It would work through this really powerful feedback loop. You've got people all over the world buying dollar-backed stablecoins to protect their savings. Then, to back those coins, the companies that issue them have to buy US debt. So, the more the world uses stablecoins, the more built in demand there is for US debt. It's a genius way to export your inflation and fund your government at the same time. The real genius of this plan, according to the theory, is that it's all deniable. The government doesn't openly start buying up Bitcoin. That would kick off a financial war. No, instead, it lets the private sector, companies like MicroStrategy, do all the heavy lifting. Then, down the road, it can just absorb that asset into the national strategy, claiming it's a matter of national security. It's subtle and it's deniable. But hold on, there is one more piece to this puzzle, the wild card. This third theory is by far the most chaotic, and it positions silver not just as an investment, but as a potential weapon aimed right at the heart of the global banking system. The whole theory really boils down to this one major conflict. On one side, you have the paper game, where banks use a potentially unlimited number of financial contracts, derivatives, to control the price. And on the other side, you have the physical reality, a finite supply of actual, real metal that you can hold in your hand. And here is the key. Unlike gold, over half of all silver gets consumed by industry. It literally gets used up. It goes into everything from your cell phone to solar panels, and this creates a massive, constant drain on the actual physical supply, which brings the system closer and closer to a breaking point where there just isn't enough physical metal to go around. So what happens if that breaking point is reached? This number, this represents the potential size of the financial powder keg we're talking about. The global derivatives market, that paper game, is estimated to be as high as $3 quadrillion. And because so many of these contracts are all tangled up together, the theory is that a sudden, violent spike in the price of physical silver could force banks to pay up on contracts they can't cover, triggering a cascade of failures that unravels the entire system. Okay, so whether it's through some planned, orderly reset or just a chaotic collapse, what comes next? Let's shift gears for a second and stop talking about the end of the old system and start thinking about the architecture of a new one. Some theorists believe the ultimate reset isn't even about money, but about the internet itself. Right now, the web is built on these big centralized platforms like Amazon Web Services, but a whole new model is emerging, a spatial web. The idea is to create a digital copy of the real world, where you can truly own digital property in a way that's tied to an actual physical location.
The crucial point to take away is this. The ultimate reset might not just be about a new currency. It might be about a whole new definition of property. Just imagine a new digital layer mapped one-to-one on top of our physical reality. That wouldn't just change our digital lives, it would fundamentally redefine what ownership even means in the 21st century.
Which leaves us with this final massive question. Are we watching a grand, coordinated master plan play out in real time, with gold as the opening act and crypto just waiting in the wings? Or is all of this just the messy, chaotic, and completely unpredictable breakdown of an old system that's run its course? The answer, whatever it is going to define the balance of power for decades to come.